Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Right Time, a Wave original. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening wherever you get your podcast. Thanks for watching us on YouTube. Subscribe, like, rate us, review us, give us 5 stars. You only give us 4 stars. I'm inclined to believe you are a hater. And look at here. It's a Foxworth Friday.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, dog. Domonique Foxworth, what's going on?
Bro, I'm a fan of the show, and it's a weird dynamic to listen on Fridays and get mad at Domonique Foxworth for not being there. It's a weird dynamic where it's like, oh, yeah, that's right. He was busy.
Yeah, but see, let me tell you, that is the thing that people don't know. Watching, and for purposes of this discussion, I think this holds, right? Watching or listening to your show when you're not on it can lead to a swirl of emotions. Like I've talked about this on here before. That first time they did High Noon without me, and I was like, boy, they sure seem to be having fun. I told you, man, I scheduled meetings with everybody. I had one with Pablo. I had one with the producer. I had one with Eric. I'm like, hey, man, is anything I'm doing?
That was the original Foxworth Friday, wasn't it?
Yeah. See, so this was before that, though.
Oh, okay. I was about to say, I'm sorry.
No. Oh, no. You ain't have to worry about that. So for people who don't know, the Foxworth Friday thing really got coined because one summer. All right, so I get a lot of vacation time, and I have for a while. Like that's a sneaky ESPN perk that if you play it right, you get a lot of vacation time. Right, and we had. Basically, they tried to play me in a negotiation one time and to make me feel better. They wouldn't give me the money. So I said, cool, give me an extra week of vacation. That, by the way, I am sure by the end was worth more than the money. But anyway, I got an extra week of vacation. And so I had all this vacation stacked up. And I was like, man, I can't really be out here taking but so many trips. It was a different me. The me now would just take all the trips. So what I did was I figured the best allocation of these days was I took every Friday off all summer long. Every single one. And Domonique was kind enough to show up to work, come to my job on Friday because I was not coming. And brother, don't you worry, I ain't watch none of them shows.
Good. I was feeling bad because, we was out there having fun.
No. By then, I had made peace with the situation, and B, the reasons why you might have been having fun actually would have infuriated me more than they made me jealous.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. There was a lot of antics. We did a whole lot of antics.
Yes.
You ain't the antic man.
No, I'm not the antic man. No, in fact, let's start talking about something else. I'm starting to get heated about 5-year-old antics.
I'll say that I've come to agree with you more generally about like we got to do meat and potatoes and then have some dessert.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, we can't just roll out a bunch of antics. We ain't Saturday Night Live. Like.
No, we're not that funny.
Mm-hmm.
We're not that interesting. We're not more interesting than sports. Like I think that is a fundamental thing that everybody who does sports programming needs to understand. If we were more interesting than sports, then it would be ESPN or EBPN, the Bomani channel, and not the sports channel. The sports channel is why I got fancy watches. Okay, I only have one fancy watch, but it's fancy as hell.
I got the funny thing is you never really think much about like the context surrounding things influencing how funny or interesting something is, but I get reminded of that when I'm like I do something funny on Get Up. And it's hilarious on Get Up. Just the other day Perk came on and twice was like, my grandma told me whatever and related it to sports, and then Boog did it. So then they came to me and I was like, so I don't have anything that applies, but my grandma told me Hennessy tastes like pound cake. It crushed. This has nothing to do with what's going on, but she told me that. It crushed. But I ain't no goddamn stand-up. It was only funny because I said it to Mike Greenberg.
Hey, man. And it worked because it was in the moment.
Yeah.
Leaving your house with the plan to be funny is working with the... And by the way, doing that job I did for a little while where that was a big part of it, I had a coach, okay?
Yeah.
It's really, 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 really hard.
Like, you was doing stand-up comedy, bro. Like you went from nowhere to doing live monologues for HB Damo in front of a studio audience.
Yes. It did all right, mind you.
Yeah.
I'll just throw that part out there. Like,
Yeah,
no.
well.
I would go and had all the stand-ups on the staff, and I would go to their shows and just kind of talk to them about stuff and watch the process. And I was like, oh, no. I need everybody to understand how hard it is. Like, some people I've tried to explain how hard this is. I need them all to understand how hard it is. Because this is the thing about Antics. I figured this out about televised Antics. You have way more leeway on television with your antics on somebody else's show.
Yeah.
On your own show, you become responsible for a whole lot of different things. So, like, for example, if you were going to somebody else's house for dinner and you want to bring something, yeah, bring a bottle of wine. Or, hey, maybe just bring some dessert, right? Mm-hmm. But if you're having the meal at your house, you can't be like, all right, I got the drink. What y'all talking about? Where the rest at?
You ain't telling me it was a potluck. Yeah, I learned that when I got my own show, and I just expected. So, like, when I'm a guest on your show, and like, I think one of the best versions of me in media, like, comes out on Foxworth Friday. I don't got to worry about shit.
We're all better as guests.
Yeah. Then when I'm doing my own show, and the first, like, a long time ago, when I first started doing it, I was like, damn, I'm not that funny or that interesting. Like, where am I? But it's because it's impossible to try to be the straight man, and like, it's just really hard to do. Like, you do it, but it's practice, hours of radio.
But I'm better as a guest. Yeah. Like, Dan made that point. He was like, we're all better as guests. And what you try to figure out with your own show is how the infrastructure can be set up to make you a guest, basically. Like, his thing was, you got to get the right person to, like, put you in these places and stuff. Because, look, I do it real subtle, but I get you the ball where you like it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if you ever heard this story, but Mark Jackson was telling this story about, like, them UCLA runs they used to have in the 80s and 90s. And that Magic would be out there killing it. And Mark Jackson couldn't understand how all these dudes play better when they play with Magic than they play with him. And look, you guys have to understand, Mark Jackson, if I'm not mistaken, is like second all time in assists or something up there, right? Like, he is, right, not a Hall of Fame player, but a traditional point guard in a way that we don't really make them anymore. So for him to humble himself and ask this question is a real thing. And the dudes are like, yo, man, it's not just that he get me the ball. He get it right where I like it. That ball come right here in the pocket. LeBron is excellent at this too. Like, you watch LeBron with the Heat. Shane Battier knew I was only getting the ball if it was time to shoot. And he would be in the motion before he even got the ball. LeBron get it right where you like it, right? Like, that's what a good host does. He figure out how to get the ball to the cat right where they like it. Just, you know, it's hard to do that for yourself.
Yeah, it is very hard to do that for yourself. I think the thing about that story that is just jumps, and it reminds me of people ask me, because I'm a former athlete, and I think you never really done this, but generally people, and even on my own show, somebody will do something. Like Tom Brady, I remember, would do something, and Charlie would ask me, like, from the athlete's perspective. And that reminds me of the Magic Johnson thing, because it's like, there are athletes, then there's different.
Right.
And like, the idea that a great point guard who specialized in setting people up, Mark Jackson, was in the NBA, and not there was something that he wasn't good at. There was a level of playing this game that he hadn't even considered. Like, that to me is outrageous, that he was like, oh, get it to them exactly where they want it. Don't just get it to them when they open. Don't just create the angles for them to be open. Also, get it to them exactly where they want it. It's pretty impressive. So when Charlie asked me about the mindset of Tom Brady, I'm like, bro, I'm an athlete, but I'm not. I ain't never been that.
Well, what makes it nuts with Magic is that he's doing this in pickup. We're not even talking about guys that he plays on the team with. He's talking about dudes that's just out here running today. And he's like, yeah, I know where he likes it. Like, you and I have been doing this so long that I don't know if you remember this. You probably do. We were doing a quarantined, highly questionable. And we were talking, I forget, we were talking about Central Florida. When Central Florida were undefeated that year. And Dan was trying to get out there and make their argument about how they deserve their chance to go out there and play. And I'm like, nah, don't. You know, it's better this way. Like, you don't need to get them out there against the best. And you and I had never talked about it. And I said something. Domonique know what I'm talking about. Ask Domonique about that time they went to the Orange Bowl.
Yeah,
the look on your face,
right where I wanted it.
Yeah,
right where I wanted it, because I hadn't even known that I was open. I didn't even know I was open. I didn't know I could relate to this. I didn't even know I was wide open. Next thing I know, I'm in the corner with the ball in my hand in 5 feet of space. Jabbar Gaffney was a problem. Swish.
Yo, that is magic. That is Jokic. Where you be like, damn, the ball just hit me right here. I had no idea.
Rex Grossman was giving us fits, sir. That game was over before it started, and it was a great season. And I wish we hadn't ended it that way. Like, it was nice to go to the Orange Bowl. It would have been nice. Like, the following year, we beat the dog shit out of Tennessee in the Peach Bowl. A lower fruit. But that shit felt good to end your season getting Casey Clausen threw me one, I think, in that game. Yeah, my Dante Stallworth, I beat him up. Jason Witten popping so much shit. That boy talk shit now.
Really?
Oh, he's one of those guys. He's a hit the switch guy where you wouldn't recognize Jason Witten on the field, because Jason Witten, if you close your eyes, he sound like he like us. Like and then you talk to him off the field, you see how he dressed, you're like, oh, no sir. But Jason Witten, and it's not fake. It's fluent shit talk. It's not that fluent. Like, he don't go that far.
Yeah,
but it is fluent shit talk where he's like, oh no,
you seem so much younger than Jason Witten.
Yeah. Well, I mean, despite what you might say, my hairline is holding on stronger than Jason Witten's.
It is. No. You're definitely holding on stronger than Jason Witten. Jason Witten, if I'm not, remember Jason Witten, didn't Jason Witten come back after he did that disastrous stint on television, and then he went and played for 1 year, and he had to, look, when a white man come all the way home.
Yeah, because when you ain't got no curls, you can buy a little bit more time. You got some moves. I just see some people do the comb front, the comb over, where they just got one thing that's so long. But yeah, Jason, he ain't had no choice.
Yeah, but there's also just general white privilege that the white man can go kick it any way he wants to. And I want to be clear, the white privilege that comes from white man being able to keep their hair as it's fading and everything else, y'all ain't even the ones that's enforcing the privilege. I've talked about this many times. It's my own people that do this to me. Like, I wish some white man would say something to me about my hairline. You got some fucking nerve. You don't even know. You know what I'm saying? You ain't got no concept of understanding of what time it is over here, right? Like, come on, get out here. Now, look, I think I'm down for bringing back the old days when we ain't have to be perfect all the time. It's Michael Jordan's fault. Talked about this also before. Michael Jordan came home before we noticed it was a problem, right? And then now everybody else had to do that. Right? We should be able to kick it like you could back. Shout out to Clyde Frazier. He's still out here kicking it like they did back in the day. He like, I'm so cool, it don't matter.
I think in our group chat, I mentioned this. I need to get to the bottom of who got the first shape up and hold them accountable. Because like, I know plenty of women enjoy wearing makeup, but I imagine that some are like, why did we ever start this shit? Because if you never started it, it would become an expectation. And I believe that sometime in the early 80s or something, with the hip hop era, somebody got the first line. Because when I look at all the civil rights stuff from the 60s and 70s, like, they was going to give big speeches, big marches. Obviously, you just went to the barbershop. No shape up. I would like to go back to because now when I'm on TV, I got to get my shit cut once a week. Because I'm expected I can't have no new growth.
I saw somebody say once that is Dope Boys in New York and Harlem. They the ones that brought the shape up out here. And then from there, that's where we went. Quarantine let us bring a little bit of it back. But I ain't gonna lie, bro. I've been looking at them Game Theory clips. And the thing about Game Theory was the background was black. And we put a little fiction in there. Hey, brother, in the wrong light, I still look like I was bald-headed. I still look like it. It took so long before you got to the main event. It was. Hey, man, that was a time. That was a time.
I put a little play fake in there this past season. I'd always avoided it. But this year I decided to show the ball to the back, put it in his belly and pull it out a little bit in the corner. So yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna come home eventually. I think the problem it's like, not only I feel like we've stopped the pushback, but now it's just getting a little thinner. And you know the people who got it strong on the sides and then it's weak.
Yeah. Yeah. See, the only reason I went with the fiction when I was on TV, quite honestly, was they wasn't even asking me if I wanted it.
Yeah.
Like,
You're
they
right.
were telling me.
That was the hard part for me, because I had one time when the Super Bowl was in Atlanta, I went to a random like Atlanta barbershop and they put that fiction in there without me asking. And I was like, ooh, that boy looking good. And then that was a long time ago. And from then on, my barber would ask me and I'm like, nah, don't do that.
Y'all
Nah,
don't believe
because
in cheating.
yeah, it feels, I don't know, something about it feels wrong to me. But this last year, I don't know, like it's some hyper masculinity, like vanity stuff. But this last year, I was like, man, just give me a little spray. Just give me a little spray in the corners, baby. They don't have to know. They don't have to know.
Gotta say, I am not exactly sure how we got here. And one thing I do like to do or try to do on this show is kind of stay on topic, in part because I'm a radio guy. But then I stop and realize, man, when these players be having podcasts, Domonique, they be out here talking about any old thing. Anybody else be out here talking about any old thing. Like, I feel like if I'm out here doing it wrong.
No, I think on Fridays we do it perfect. When there's stuff to talk about, there's stuff to talk about.
Yes.
I realize that a lot of these podcasts, I don't listen to them. I get exposed to them by clips, and the clips be great that float to the top. But then you look up their podcast, and it's an hour and a half, and they just start out like, ooh, they just start out slow and eventually find their way to some good stuff. So yeah, they doing it right. Just send me the clips.
Hey, let me tell you this, boy. We talked about this a little bit earlier in the week, but I think I can say this a little more concretely after watching more ESPN throughout the week. Hey, man, let me tell you who don't be saying nothing bad about Nico. The good folks at ESPN. Nico messed around and gave us an NBA story like we ain't had. We talking about that. They be talking about the Lakers on ESPN now like the LeBron Heat. Like every night they got a game. And look, I guess it's because they rolling right now. I think at some point there's going to be some mean regression that takes place. But oh no, appreciate you guys. Like Nico did the biggest favor that people try to put together television and radio that anybody's had in quite a long time.
I don't get like why it feels like people outside of Dallas are angry with him. I don't get it. It was the same thing that I relate this to the Atlanta drafting Michael Penix, where it was like, I felt like I was alone. And the Michael Penix thing, like I defend it. I really can't bring myself to defend the Nico thing other than saying, I guess he got a plan. And I respect the fact that he had the heart to make a decision. And that's like, I ain't mad at him. If it's dumb, that's fine. Give us something to talk about. Like, I don't know. I don't want a bunch of computers running these teams or playing for these teams.
But Domonique, you know what's going on here. And it's okay. Like, I need these guys to understand it's okay. Luka, they guy, okay? Mm-hmm. And Luka got into that very interesting space. Talked about this before, but for those who haven't heard me mention it, I'll say it now. I'll even say this. Y'all can make a social clip out of this if you want to. White basketball players, there's a weird inflection point that they have to deal with because nobody is harder on white basketball players than white people in general, but white basketball players in particular. They some real crabs in a barrel, okay? They real tough on it. They can't believe when some white dude get it going, they can't believe. But, once that white dude starts showing something, right, it is very rapidly that white boy goes from being underrated, where it's only us that got something to say about him, kind of like white quarterbacks, right? Mm-hmm. It goes real fast. They go from being underrated to, I can't say enough about that dude. That shit jump off the graph. And Luka's at that point. I've been dealing for the last 5-6 years. I done heard her compare Luka to LeBron. I done heard her compare Luka to Jordan. And I know every stat and number that you could throw out there. I understand why you might think that you don't sound ridiculous when you say those things, okay? You might not look ridiculous on paper. You sound crazy. I need all of you to know this. You, especially if you were over the age of 35, you really sound crazy. But it's your man's.
I haven't heard, I don't know how you compare Luka to Jordan. Like the Luka to LeBron comparison, I mean, I guess it's a bit lazy, but it makes sense. Like it's a big point guard, essentially. Like a big point guard who sees the floor and passes well. but the athleticism is not at all comparable. Yeah, I don't know. People have to find some way to compare. You can't just have a guy that's on his own. I get it. We got to fill up this time sometime or some way. And it's the same thing with like the draft stuff as we do a lot of comps. Nobody never do bum comps. And that's the thing that's hard to me, man. It's like, I get it. You don't do bum comps, but like, let's be honest. Like you would rather than say that someone is not as good, they say shades of Aaron Donald. Like,
Yes.
ain't no shades of Aaron Donald in this draft, sir.
Well, you know who they did that with last. I forget how you say his name, but it's the little Aaron Donald. And he's not even little because you can't be little. Aaron Donald is a linebacker. The same the dude is it Yancey? He plays for Tampa Bay. He went to Pitt. He was an undersized 3 technique, just like Aaron Donald.
Yeah, that's just because he wore the same helmet and he is undersized. Like that's the we know we talk about the racial comps that they do that all the time too, is you can't do cross racial comps. And they've started to be aware of that and been more conscious of the cross racial comparisons. However, I get it that you want to use names that people know, but it drives me nuts when I hear a name. They got this guy. I've been watching a lot of tape on this guy. Sherman Stewart is a defensive end at A&M, and I like him. But the reason why I started watching is because people was comparing him to Myles Damn Garrett. And again, it's like, he real big. He also go to A&M. No disrespect. The man is a baller. Like, I like him. Man had 1 sack. He had 1 sack, Bomani. He not Myles Garrett. Like, stop it. He tall as Myles Garrett. He strong as Myles Garrett. He quick as Myles Garrett. He big as Myles Garrett. He went to Texas A&M like Myles Garrett. Brother had 1 sack, man. And he's disruptive. It says it like, it might sound like I'm being disrespectful and saying that he's not good. Like, he's good. I understand getting him in the first round. But he ain't Myles Garrett, guys. Stop that.
And right fast, I was talking about Kalijah Cansey. That was the guy. That was the guy. 6 foot, 280 pounds out of Pitt. But no, he was not. He was not Aaron Donald. It was not the same thing. Pablo, when I did High Noon with him, he used to call Luka a mini LeBron, and I was like, bruh, if you are mini, you're not LeBron.
That's a fair point.
That's all. You know, he's like a smaller version of Wilt Chamberlain. Don't.
It is the defining characteristic. You know, like you can't take the defining characteristic away from and say that they are similar to that person. It's like a slow Lamar Jackson.
Yes,
it's like a little Josh Allen. Like, no, bro. These are kind of it's Josh Allen with a weaker arm. You know what that is? That's a bum. That's what that sounds like to me. That sounds like a tight end.
Yeah, let me tell you what Josh Allen with a weaker arm is doing. He about to drop off a case of brew down there at the down there at the package store. That is what Josh Allen with a weak arm is about to do.
Oh gosh, yeah, those are bad.
Oh man, speaking of player comps and somebody that's not being compared to Josh Allen, but we'll talk about a particular player of the draft in just a moment. Shout out to Dash Pass and their members-only deal for the 24-25 NBA season. They swoosh, you save. When any player scores 50 or more points in a game, Dash Pass members save 50% on an order up to $10 off. Sign up for Dash Pass and save more all year round with $0 delivery fees and reduced service fees on eligible orders, plus exclusive perks like this one. Use the promo code NBA50 the day after the 50-point game during the 24-25 NBA regular season from noon to midnight. Valid for Dash Pass members only from noon to midnight the day after any player scores 50 points or more in a single game during the 24-25 regular season.
That's right, and as a reminder, the offer is live noon to midnight the day after the game, and that is exclusive to Dash Pass members only, 50% off one order, up to $10 off. Offer valid from 9 a.m. Pacific time through 11:59 p.m. Pacific time after a 50-point performance in any game during the NBA season on orders placed at participating merchant locations. Valid only in the United States. Maximum value of discount is $10. Discount applies to subtotal only. Does not apply to fees, taxes, gratuity. Not available for pickup. Limit one person. Not valid for the purchase of alcohol. Fees, taxes, and gratuity still apply. Must have an active Dash Pass account. Use promo code NBA50 to redeem. See further details and conditions at the link in the bio.
All right, Domonique, you did not go on the football out-of-town trip to Indianapolis?
Nah, I ain't been to the Combine since I ran at the Combine.
Man, let me tell you something about the Combine. I imagine there is some shenanigans at the Combine, but like that sounds like, to me, always from a distance. And look, I don't think this is an inappropriate term, but we'll just throw it out there. That just sounds like a big old sausage party, baby. Like it's a bunch of football players and football scouts. I would hate to be a woman who has to go to the Combine. Yikes.
Yeah, I don't imagine. I don't know though. I went to Essence Fest a long time ago.
Okay, but I understand why you might find them to be analogous.
Yeah.
But of course, the difference is dudes. That's the difference. Not just dudes that are having drinking contests every night, right? Like I would be trying to run past the hotel bar. Ain't no telling what these cats might do. But it's a wide variety of people that come. It seems that from people I've talked to at the Combine, the NFL people seem to only have one thing in common. They all seem to find Shedeur Sanders to be a bit off-putting.
Yeah.
Josiah Anderson, the reporter, she had tweeted about how she kind of, didn't like hearing so much about the ways that people were talking about Shedeur and the ways that people were talking about him being brash and, being a bit arrogant and all of those things. But it was such a broadly applied opinion of him that he's not good enough to be that, right? Like he is looking right now to be a late first round pick. I don't like the idea of draft stock and everything else. But when I talk to the people I actually trust about this, we're talking about maybe late first round pick. You ain't gonna be putting your watch in nobody's face as a late first round pick. It's just not gonna work.
Yeah. The brash part, so like this is every couple of years, it might be every year, but every couple of years, there's some like racially coded analysis that is concerning and off-putting and unfair. Calling Shedeur Sanders brash, to me, like maybe they can't say it, but like, what is we talking about? That don't feel like a mischaracterization of the player that you might receive. Now, arguing that that's a bad thing is another question because I don't think that, or there are plenty of quarterbacks in the league that are having success that are brash in a way that I think is probably off-putting. We just dig so deep into the stuff that doesn't matter. Can you ball? Your brash becomes marketable if you can ball. Your brash is annoying if you can't. Can you ball? The fact that you are in the Star Trek becomes interesting if you can ball. If you can't, you got too many outside interests. Like we are looking for shit to talk about these players when none of that shit fucking matters. Can you play? If you can play, we make a story about how all the weird shit about you is cute. If you can't play, the weird shit is distracting. I don't know why we haven't caught up to this yet.
Well, but I think that there's like multiplier effects depending on where you are and how good in all of these things, right? And so I think with a quarterback, at the very least, they're thinking about and talking about these things a little bit differently, right? But if you are, Josh Rosen is an interesting example because we have now forgotten that he ever existed. I was team Josh Rosen because it sounded like he was just a little bit too smart for those people, right? And I always loved that Josh Rosen, and those who don't remember, Josh Rosen's people was rich. Like, I want to say he wound up going to Wharton, but if I'm not mistaken, he canned to the Whartons or whatever. But, like, he come from stock. His parents are big-time lawyers, and they was rich, right? Josh Allen installed a hot tub in his dorm room when he got there. Amazing. I'm like, okay. We're that guy. And I actually found when I would see interviews with him, I was like, oh, he is maybe a little bit too smart for this world in a lot of ways, but he seemed okay. But if he were a number one overall pick, good, that wouldn't have been an issue. Instead, he's in graduate school right now or business school. Yeah, I think he's in B school. But either way, he's like 27, and that's where he is right now. Yeah, the personality part, we start talking about that once we start getting to the margins and start getting to the fringes. And the truth is, they have tried to make it it's a Shedeur or Cam who you got. After the combine, it sounds like nobody's going to do that anymore. It's a Cam Ward and then everybody else. That's why I say Tennessee's taking Cam Ward number one unless somebody really, really backs up the truck, because he's the only one that seems to be a quarterback that people really believe can happen in this draft. I don't know with Shedeur, like you said, what is the reasonable expectation? How does this go? Like, I'm curious because I don't think he goes in the first round.
Yeah. Wow.
I personally, and maybe not everybody feels this way, right? But if that dude's still out there at 20, he the lonely barber, dog. Go ahead and wait till that thing get a little bit cheaper.
You think that his personality and connection with obviously his father who's coaching, like, you think that weighs into the decision making? Because I got to be honest, if I were a coach, it would be on my mind. It would be something I would consider. It's like, I don't need this.
I think you just put it in the way that I was struggling to as I was talking in that circle there a second ago. The coach that has to be the one to put up with this off-putting person that might not be that good, then yeah, it does matter, right? If you're the person I got to spend the most time with, we're going to be up in here at night. Oh, this is going to be a thing. My thought, though, as it relates to Deion, is this one. Deion's not a fool.
Yeah.
And I think Deion knows he's not going to be able to force the action. He got his own team to coach now, right? I don't think you'll hear that much Deion in the media if Shedeur isn't playing well or isn't used right or whatever. I don't think that'll happen because, and maybe I'm being wildly optimistic about this because I know parents can be different about stuff, right? But I think he knows that doesn't help.
But maybe he won't be explicit, but he got more relationships, and you know how this game works sometimes. He got more relationships and influence in media, sports media, and maybe the NFL, depending on the coach, than almost every coach in the league. And so that would be kind of like the whole news cycle around, should the Cowboys hire Deion Sanders?
True.
That was Deion Sanders, man. I mean, Jerry played into it because Jerry also, like, I don't believe, all the people that I talked to, no one believed that it was a real possibility. They understood that both of these entities know how to play this game. And so, and we also are hungry for that. To your point about the Nico trade, we need something. And if there's a dead period and Deion Sanders say something, then it's going to become, it'll be, particularly if it's not a big market team, that is going to be he say one thing, that's going to be the storyline for your season. Every time you get onto the big networks, because we ain't going to talk about you otherwise, it's going to be when they going to play Shedeur. Remember when Deion said, or Deion didn't say, someone's going to say the shit that Deion wants to be said. Like that, I'd be concerned about it.
I think where the Deion factor is going to come up is, I do think, and I think he probably should. I'm kind of not a fan of these grown men having their parents maneuvering their careers, but trying to make sure Shedeur lands somewhere that is conducive to his own success, I think, is where Deion will be most invested. My guy Lance Zierlein had Shedeur in his mock draft going at the end of the first round to Cleveland. Oh, no. Terrible. That's not going to be good for him. Deion seemed to be pretty cognizant when he would mention teams before of where he wanted Shedeur to play. It sounded like places that he thought would be good for a black quarterback. The problem is, as I recall, the places that he mentioned all got quarterbacks, black ones at that. I believe he discussed, because he talked about all the teams he played for. He talked about Atlanta. He talked about Baltimore. He talked about Washington. Sorry, the brothers already got that one. All three. 3 for 3. 3 for 3.
Given what you're saying about it and how the tides have turned, like it'd be great. And the problem is, anytime you draft a quarterback in the first round or second round, probably also, unless the guy in front is balling, there's going to be a timeline on it. Like, what would be awesome for them is if he went to the Rams. Like, he was hanging around, he was late to the Rams. somewhere with a coach that's stable and knows what he's doing with quarterbacks, a quarterback that is obviously on his way out soon, and a situation that you can build up around him. Like, to your point, he needs to go somewhere that's conducive to his success. And based on the evaluations right now, he's not a savior. Don't put him in a bad spot, and don't put him behind a shitty quarterback, because that's going to be bad for everybody.
I tell you, boy, I said this earlier in the week. Please let Kyle Shanahan find a way to get him so they can play some hardball with Brock Purdy, and then Shedeur Sanders come in. Except no. I think the wheels are coming off over there in that place. I don't think I want to be at the helm of what's like. That is an underrated thing. As they just traded Debo for a 5th round pick, and at first I was like, "Damn, that's all you could get." And then I looked at the numbers. Quietly, Samuel had like one good year, one really good year. He served purposes, but he really only had that one really good year, right? There's an unraveling. I think that's about to go on over there, as they're probably going to have to pay Brock Purdy $50 million.
And the story around Brock Purdy is going to be he's getting overpaid, and that's the reason why this team sucks. When actually, to your point, there's some unraveling happening, that it ain't going to be all on Brock Purdy. And yeah, there are 5 quarterbacks in the league where no matter what, your floor is going to be at a certain point. Brock Purdy ain't that guy, but to me at least, he's definitely proven that he deserves the major contract extension from the team that he's on. And if they don't figure it out, it's all going to get pinned on him, which I hate. Generally, I hate that as a practice of just, guys, you pay them what they deserve. Your fault. It's time for you to do your job.
He'll have to soothe himself with all that money. And I try to explain this to people. That doesn't work as well as you think.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't, like somebody, I would tell somebody come kick you in the nuts. You rub $100 bill on it, it's still gonna feel like somebody kicks you in the nuts. It's not gonna. Yeah. It's a trade. Yeah. It's a trade. It's not a fix.
You can buy some nice ice. You can buy some liquor to expensive stuff to forget your pain, but it's still gonna be there.
It's still gonna be there. This is this draft. I don't see enough dudes I've ever really heard of, to be honest, for this draft to be a truly interesting one. This college football season, I think, was interesting because there were so many like underclassmen. For example, I think the best receiver in college football, he ain't even going to be in next year's draft. That boy Smith.
Yeah, Ohio State.
Yeah. I mean, Ryan Williams, who out there playing like a ghost, he ain't even going to be in next year's draft.
They're going to be around long enough for when their draft comes up. They're going to be interesting and exciting players. The thing about the NFL draft, though, that's different from basketball draft, is I guess the only other one that we really care about, is the whole draft kind of matters. We just don't know it.
Yes.
And so like saying that it doesn't matter is not true. Like in football, a lot of teams are determined by some really great drafts that happen with guys whose names we don't know today. So the draft is really interesting and important, but it can get kind of dull and boring because we don't know none of these people.
Yeah, you got to study too hard for the NFL draft. Like that's like them people who are real draft guys, like my buddy Michael Smith. Michael Smith is a draft guy. He gets all the books. He loves everything about it. You just have to love it. I don't care nearly as much because my thing is, if you doing all that research for your team, you gonna tell yourself you love whoever they take. That's how this work every year, because ain't no point in saying that you don't.
It doesn't make sense. And the more research you do, the more reasons you find to like somebody. But the reason why, we were talking about defining characteristics before, and like to me at least, the defining characteristic about football is the reason why the draft is so hard to prepare for, and it's the reason why I think football is so interesting, is because it's not a complicated game, but it's a complex game. In that, if you watch a basketball game, everybody's playing the same position. I know we think like, yeah, centers and point guards are different, but functionally, everyone can score, everyone can play defense, everyone can shoot, everyone can pass. That's how all sports are kind of like soccer, lacrosse. I mean, with the exception of baseball, I guess, hockey. Like
no, but even then, you're doing the same stuff, just at different places.
Right. But all these sports, I was just saying that all those kind of sports are kind of the same. Those net sports are kind of the same goddamn game. It's all fucking handball. But football is 10 different sports happening at the same time, at least 4 or 5. Like, so in order to watch a basketball game, you can see a guy and like, all right, yeah, I'm watching 10 guys and I'm watching for these things. football, you're like, man, the things that requires for a left tackle to be good have nothing. Like, you have to be an expert on
Right.
left tackle play. Like, from tackle to guard, it's kind of different. Not even to mention, like, from tackle to cornerback or receiver. So, like, yeah, it's almost impossible. And then it's 22 guys on the field at a time. It's really hard to be excited about these drafts and watch enough and know enough to make sense of it.
Yo, it's funny you just mentioned the thing about left tackles. Because have you seen this thing where Will Campbell played left tackle at LSU? He went to the combine and they found out that he has short arms. And he has been asked questions about this. And he said that you won't find anybody on the film who beat me because my arms are short. And I'm like, son, that is a great answer to give in that moment. And if I were a general manager, somebody hand me that red pen so we can not take this short arm dude as our left tackle. But it, like, no. It don't take much to like all that combine stuff. We don't see it happen as much now, but in the media, particularly when we got like a larger proliferation of, well, people like me, people who weren't dyed in the wool sports writers, and we came in the game. And a lot of us just thought everything that the football people did was just stupid. What's the point of all these? This guy's doing a drill. He's picking up a tennis ball and doing all this. What's the point of X, Y, and Z? Hey, man, these people have been doing this stuff for a long time. Some of this, like the 40-yard dash, a bit overstated, but most of it, there's a reason and what they're looking for. Mm-hmm. A tackle with short arms is a tackle that's got to let that dude get close to him. A tackle with short arms, there's another word for that in football. It's called a guard.
Yeah, to your point, I'm sure there's some inefficiency and stupid stuff in all of the things that anyone does in any industry. But by and large, they figured these things out. And this is one of Charlie's big things when we're talking about players, is he refuses to endorse any low-end outliers. Like, anyone who, like, high-end outliers, he was all in on Anthony Richardson because he's a high-end physical outlier. Anyone who's like sometimes it works, like Kyler Murray, cool. I mean, it works kind of. Aaron Donald, cool. I'm gonna miss out on that if I'm drafting the Charlie Kravitz way. But if you a high-end outlier, you're all in. And to your point, like, yeah, it's possible that Will Campbell can play tackle in this league and be great. It ain't happened too many times with that arm length, so I'm not gonna take a risk on it.
You know who wouldn't take him? Howie.
Yeah,
that's what Charlie Kravitz talks about. Charlie Kravitz's thing is, look, Howie Roseman is all about high-end physical outliers, and that is the truth. If you look at the Eagles, it is freak after freak after freak. Jalen Carter is next to Jordan Davis. Okay, it's the Georgia defensive line. Nolan Smith is on one side of them. Freak.
The real example of that is not the defensive line, as crazy as it sounds.
The offensive line.
These motherfuckers got 6'7" guards, Bomani Jones. Two of them. Like, that ain't a thing. That ain't a real thing that people do. Guard is where you put the guys who too short and too short-armed and not athletic enough to play anywhere else. They got a little center, but they guards, man, are 6'7". They took Mekhi Becton, enormous ass, and kicked him down. You can't kick down that man.
6'7", 370-pound guard, and they kicked him down.
And so the idea, and Howie Roseman, obviously very good at his job and very smart, but this is another situation where we can make it as complex as possible. And they have a awesome analytics department, and I'm sure their scouting department is great. But when it come down to the come down, Howie like, he big, he fast, gimme. Right. It's the same way I do when I'm drafting.
Howie did the inverse of the Jimmy Johnson, Bobby Bowden strategy on defense that revolutionized college football in the 1980s. And it was very simple. We're going to turn defensive ends into defensive tackles. We're going to turn outside linebackers into defensive ends. We're going to turn we're going to turn safeties into linebackers, and we're going to turn corners into safety. And if you play corner at Florida State, it's because you're Deion Sanders. That was the approach they did on all of it. Howie went the other way on that. All right, we're turning tackles to guards, and if you're a tackle, it's because you're Lane Johnson.
Or Mailata. Like, these guys are awesome. tackles.
They had a 300. They went from Jason Kelsey, who is a center size center, to like a 315, 320 pound center, right?
Yeah, and he's shorter though, but yeah, he's a bigger. For a center size, he's probably about accurate for centers, but nobody else around them is normal. Like, I don't know what the average size of the offensive line is, but it's got to be the biggest in the league. I can't imagine.
Well, hold on. Thinking of all of this, how cold must Howie have believed Devontae Smith to be for him to be like, yeah, we'll go ahead and do that? Because that is the regularest size dude that you could possibly name. Right? He looked like a dude walking around my daddy's hometown in Louisiana. He has a very particular look at his face that is very Louisiana, and any of my Louisiana people listening right now know exactly what I'm talking about. But
I'm not one of your Louisiana people, but I feel like I saw him when I was down there a number of times.
Yes.
I saw that face. I was like, oh, Devontae? Oh, my bad. But that man won the Heisman. So, like, maybe he is not a physical outlier in the way that, like, when AJ became available, I'm sure Howie couldn't make that trade happen fast enough to get AJ, because that is a Howie Roseman type of dude.
Did you see the clip of one of the podcasts? Like you say, you talk about the clips. I think he was talking to, I think it was $1 million worth of game, but it was AJ Brown talking about how he would have played little minor league baseball, and they started hitting him with that number 2, and he was like, man, I'm gonna go catch them passes, brother. I would try to make that baseball thing work, whatever it took myself personally. But he was like, no, that's no sport has anything quite like the curveball.
That make you quit
at every level. At every level, the curveball. I guess football has the get the shit knocked out of you, right? That's the football curveball. But at every level, different gradations of the curveball wipe out more and more people.
It's like a measuring stick. You get up to the new level, and they like, how you feel about this? If you say, oh nah, that is over for you. I feel like the AJ choosing football speaks to, like, football people don't like this, but when we had that, like, could football players play basketball or basketball players play football, like, it was the most obvious answer to me, and people got mad at me for saying I traded on my guys. Like, no, just being honest. Like,
that thing keep falling down. It just keeps happening. You couldn't even. I was pushing through. You know what I'm saying? Domonique was like, "Yee."
Nah, I was willing to push through. I just thought it was funny. The football guys, I feel like you choose football in part because in football is one of the only games that I think professional level where you can just be a freak athlete and it don't matter. Like baseball, the freak athlete, like, that don't help you track that ball and hit it. Same thing with basketball with shooting and whatever. But football, there are some positions where, like, look, if you're real big and real coordinated, you're going to be all right. And I feel like when you're playing baseball, you're like, man, I ain't going to make no money playing baseball because I can't hit this curve. But in football, AJ, like, look, can't nobody guard me because can't nobody stop me. I know there's money coming.
This is what I just thought about with the curveball. I think I've talked about it a few times. Like, we don't give enough credit to some of our great inventors of all time. Right? There's a lot of people that, for example, who was the first man who, when the get down was about to get down, was like, hold up, I need to wrap this thing up. I did a lot for a lot of people. I also have a lot of questions about the circumstances that led that man to be like, oh, give me a 10, let me take a 20. I need to go, let me try something right fast, right? But that's a real Bud Light real man of genius right there. Like, we got a whole bunch of them. Can you imagine what it was like the first time somebody got into a batter's box and they got their tobacco, they spitting it out, and they hitting their spikes, they doing all this, and they've been killing it, and they ready, and then next thing you know, that thing go up, and then that thing come down. that first time you saw the curveball, man, I bet that shit looked like sorcery. You're like, hey, you ain't allowed to do that. Hey, we got to change the rules. Throw it to me straight.
I can't imagine what, like, obviously sports media wasn't around back then, but the way that we react when something new happens now, like, we just go completely bananas. Nothing that different nothing as drastic as that has happened, I don't think. In sports, it's like the invention of the forward pass is the only other thing that's like the curveball. Like, you playing a different game now. Like, I thought we had an understanding. You throw the ball fast at me, try to get it past me.
Yeah.
Oh, you gonna make this bitch move?
It's dancing, or like the split finger fastball the first time somebody, or just the changeup, right? Like, yeah, that ain't go as fast as the last time. But the way my daddy talked about the first time he saw a crossover dribble, it was like the first time somebody saw an iPhone or a vape pen. Like, it was just like, whoa, because they had to change the rules to allow the crossover dribble. But like the vape pen, you imagine you talk to somebody that been in jail for like 30 years and they come back and they're like, yo, hit this. What's it? What's this? Is that funk? What you mean is that funk? So you saying I could just be in my room and can't nobody tell? Oh, snap.
Revolutionary. Yeah, the crossover dribble. So a couple things. Average size of center in the league is 6'3", 270. So I was wrong. You're right. They even got a big ass center. And when you said the crossover dribble, it reminded me of a odd moment of pride. My son just turned 12 and he just can't stop himself around the house. He just be doing crossover dribbles and dunking on trying to dunk on me in doorways. This fool do backpedal drill, like it just had a flashback to, like, I ain't say nothing to him, but I was like, oh, I remember them days. It was around that same age and he hasn't played tackle yet. I think we're gonna let him play tackle in next fall. But he see me come around the corner, he come around and form me up. Like, I do that all the time. I used to do that all the time. It's such a little boy thing. I was proud of him.
Oh man, like, that was a progress check, boy. I left so many dirty handprints on them door frames up there. Like, that until you can get to like real dunkable levels on the goal, that's what you had. No, like, I heard you start saying that, and I was like, yeah, I know what's going on here. He's getting there. He's getting there. That also, by the way, means that if it isn't happened already, it's coming pretty soon. He's about to be a grade A jerk. That age is here.
Oh yeah, no, it's definitely here. It's fine. We got to go through that patch. The girls is different. My oldest is she just don't like us no more. Like, she loves us, but she just don't like us no more, which is fine.
She too cool for y'all?
It's not that she's too cool.
Well, no, because y'all are cool parents. So, like,
I wouldn't go that far, but
I mean, no. I mean, you are in the wild, like, a cooler person.
Right.
Like, the vision I have. I'm not saying that I'm not calling you a player's coach.
Yeah. Like, yeah. You heard how I felt disrespected. Like, hey,
yes, I did. Yes, I was like, hold on.
They ain't my friends now.
I hate your little friend, Domonique Foxworth.
Yeah, I hate your little friend. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Like, relative to other parents, we're a little bit younger and a little bit cooler. You're right. She still likes us, just don't want to be around us, which is fine. I get it.
Oh, perfect. That would be. I feel like as a parent, I know that kind of, it's a changing things, but like, that would be. I'd appreciate that.
Yeah, she's the biggest concern I have is, like, she's really responsible and smart, and so, like, I pretty hands off most of the time, but I got to get back hands on because I don't know what's going on, but I know it's something could be happening, and I don't know what's happening because I don't like school is always good. She don't get into any trouble with her friends, whatever. I just gotta stay vigilant and don't go to sleep. That's what I feel like. I can't fall asleep.
Look, man, you just know it. There's nothing you can do about it. But some fuck up is coming to your house very, very soon. It's happening. Just make them come to the front door. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if we're still in the era of that boy pulling up to the house and just hitting the horde.
Oh yeah. That is nothing. We would not stand for that. But yeah, we got some time. They're not driving yet. She's 14. We got time for all that stuff. But yeah,
oh God, if she don't want to be around you, I can't imagine what she thinks about her brother.
Oh, can't stand him.
I can't imagine anything I'd hate more if I were a 14-year-old girl than a 12-year-old boy.
It's funny because they've always been 2 years apart, obviously, but girls, it feels like, at least with her, but most girls are a little bit older. Like, they act more mature. And most boys act a little bit younger. And so they've always seemed like they were like 4 years apart. and he gets joy out of pissing her off. Like, he loves it so much, and she's easily pissed off by him because he just show up and start breathing. She like,
right, and she be on her P's and Q's. You know what I'm saying? She be getting it done.
He do not be on his P's and Q's. He be losing them P's and his Q's. I gotta find them P's and Q's and then try to convince him to get on them. But we get on him eventually. He's been on his P's and Q's pretty strong lately, so I'm proud of him.
Look, I don't have the kids. The closest I got is my buddy Nick's daughter, who I realize is in 6th grade, and that is like, wow, for me. But as she got older, I'd always tell her points. I'm like, look, I got to realize, I have to let you get bigger and let you get older. And when she was younger, she didn't really, she wasn't looking for that necessarily. She's a youngest child that is very loved by lots of people. But right around the corner, I believe is coming the time where it's going to be even like I got to let you grow up. It's not going to be enough.
Yeah.
Like, oh, not all that. What you mean?
Yeah. That's my youngest, the 8-year-old. Like, she's benefiting like a youngest would, is that the elders are clearing the path for all the rule following and all the discipline and all the you can't have this until then and you can't wear that until this. Like, yes, my oldest daughter is fighting those fights right now, and I already know, like, my youngest gets more exposed to the stuff. She's like, no, I want to wear this. Avery wears it, and I'm just tired.
Yeah. I'm just saying. Wait till you gonna have a new chance to meet a new up and coming rapper. You know what I'm saying?
Who that?
You don't know yet. I don't know either.
Oh no, hell nah. We're
They all got one. Every woman I've ever met who was on her P's and Q's for whatever reason has had one utterly irredeemable, and not just for a couple of days neither.
Oh man, can we talk about football, man? I don't feel like stressed this
Lucky
morning.
for you, brother. We here at the end, man.
Ooh, nice.
Yes. That is Domonique Foxworth. Check him out on the Domonique Foxworth Show, available where all fine podcasts are given away for free, and here every now and then on Foxworth Friday. My brother, I appreciate you.
Appreciate you, bro.
All right, man. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much for joining us here on The Right Time. We do this here 3 times a week. Sean, you handles everything behind the scenes. Thank you, sir. Also, hit the voicemail line, 323-596-7767. In line with Dominique's young man getting big enough to be annoying to him. You want to talk about that time you tried your pops and or mom? 323-596-7767. Remember, follow The Right Time. Subscribe, like, rate us, review us, give us 5 stars. You only give us 4 stars, I'm inclined to believe you are a hater. We'll talk to you guys in a couple of days. Take it easy.